rougher, it's lonelier and tougher. With hope, you burn up. Tomorrow he will turn up. There's just no let up. The livelong night and day. Ever since this world began, there is nothing sadder than a one.
Mrs. Simmons? Mrs. Simmons is my mother, but she has guests this afternoon. Who wants her? Oh, wait just a minute. Hang on just a minute. Psst, Mother. Psst, Mother.
Yes, dear?
Telephone.
Oh, no, dear. Not with all of them here. Say I'm busy.
But Mother, it's the society editor of the Evening Newsbee.
Oh, the society editor. She's very important. Good afternoon, Miss Ellerby. Yes, a tea and reception for the members of the Wednesday Forum. You might say, program tea. My mother, you know, the late Marcella Piney Dowd, pioneer cultural leader. She came here by Ox Team as a child, and she founded the Wednesday Forum. Myrtle, how many would you say?
75 at least. Say 100.
75. Miss Tewksbury is the soloist, accompanied by Wilda McCurdy, accompanist.
Mother, come. Miss Tewksbury's almost finished with her number.
She'll do an encore.
Well, what if they don't give her a lot of applause?
I've known her for years. She'll do an encore. You might say that I am entertaining, assisted by my daughter, Miss Myrtle May Simmons. What color would you call that?
Rancho Rose, they told me.
Miss Myrtle Ray Simmons looked charming in a modish Rancho Rose-toned crepe, picked up at the girdle with a touch of magenta on emerald. I wish you could see her, Miss Ellerby.
Mother, please, she's almost finished. And where's the cateress?
Everything's ready. The minute she's finished singing, we open the dining room doors and we begin pouring. The parlors and halls are festooned with smilax. Yes, festooned. That's right. Yes, Miss Ellerby. This is the first party we've had in years. There's a reason, but I don't want it in the papers. We all have our troubles, Miss Ellerby. The guest list, oh yes.
Mother, come.
If you'll excuse me now, Miss Ellerby, I'll call you later.
Mother, Mrs. Chauvenet just came in.
Mrs. Eugene Chauvenet Sr. Her father was a scout with Buffalo Bill.
So that's where she got that hat.
Myrtle, you must be nice to Mrs. Chauvenet. She has a grandson about your age.
But what difference will it make with Uncle Elwood?
Myrtle, remember, we agreed not to talk about that this afternoon. The point of this whole party is to get you started. We work through those older women to the younger group.
We can't have anyone here in the evenings, and that's when the men come to see you, in the evenings. The only reason we can even have a party this afternoon is because Uncle Elwood is playing pinochle down at the 4th Avenue Firehouse. Thank God for the firehouse.
I know, but they'll just have to invite you out, and it won't hurt them one bit. Oh, Myrtle, you've got so much to offer. I don't care what anyone says, there's something sweet about every young girl. And a man takes that sweetness, and look what he does with it. But you've got to meet somebody, Myrtle. That's all there is to it.
If I do, they say, that's Myrtle May Simmons. Her uncle is Elwood P. Dowd, the biggest screwball in town. Elwood P. Dowd and his...
You promised.
All right, let's get them into the dining room.
Now, when the members come in here and you do your little welcome speech on behalf of your grandmother, be sure to do this.
And then after that, I'll mention my Uncle Elwood and say a few words about his pal Harvey. Damn Harvey!
Myrtle May. That's right. Let everybody in the Wednesday Forum hear you. You said that name. You promised you wouldn't say that name, and you said it.
I'm sorry, Mother, but how do you know Uncle Elwood won't come in here and introduce Harvey to everyone?
This is unkind of you, Myrtle May. Elwood is the biggest heartache I have. Even if people do call him peculiar, he is still my brother. And he won't be home this afternoon.
Are you sure?
Of course I'm sure.
But, Mother, why can't we live like other people?
Must I remind you again? Elwood is not living with us. We are living with him.
Living with him and Harvey? Did Grandmother know about Harvey?
I've wondered and wondered that. She never wrote me if she did.
Why did she have to leave all her property to Uncle Elwood?
Well, I suppose it was because she died in his arms. People are sentimental about things like that.
You always say that, and it doesn't make any sense. She couldn't make out her will after she died, could she?
Don't be didactic, Myrtle May. It's not becoming in a young girl, and men loathe it. Now, don't forget to wave your hand.
I'll do my best.
Oh, dear, Miss Tewksbury's voice is certainly fading.
But not fast enough.
Lovely, Miss Tewksbury, perfectly lovely. I loved it.
Excuse me a moment. I have to answer the phone. Make yourself comfortable, Harvey. Hello. Oh, you've got the wrong number. But how are you anyway? This is Elwood P. Dowd speaking. All do? Well, thank you. And what is your name, my dear? Miss Elsie Greenewalt. Harvey, it's a Miss Elsie Greenewalt. How are you today, Miss Greenewalt? Oh, that's fine. Oh, yes, my dear, I would be happy to join your club. I belong to several clubs now. The University Club, the Country Club, the Pinnacle Club down at the 4th Avenue Firehouse. I spend a good deal of my time there, or at Charlie's Place, or over at Eddie's Bar. Oh, and what is your club, Miss Greenewalt? Harvey. I get the Ladies' Home Journal, Good Housekeeping, and the Open Road for Boys for 2 years for $6.25. That sounds fine to me. I'll join it. And how does it sound to you, Harvey? Harvey says it sounds fine to him as well. Yep, he says he'll join too. Yes, 2 subscriptions. Send everything to this address. I hope I have the pleasure of meeting you sometime, my dear. Oh, Harvey, she says she would like to meet me. When? When would you like to meet me, Miss Greenewalt? Why not right now? My sister seems to be having a few friends in, and we would consider it an honor if you would come and join us. My sister will be delighted. 343 Temple Drive. I hope to see you in a very few minutes, my dear. Goodbye. She's coming right over. Harvey, don't you think we'd better freshen up? Yeah, so do I.
I can't seem to remember where I put that guest list. I must read it to Miss Ellerby. Have you seen it, Mr. Johnson?
No, I haven't, Miss Simmons.
Look on my dresser.
Mother, Mrs. Chauvenet, she's asking for you. Here she is, Mrs. Chauvenet. Here's Mother.
Vida Louise Simmons, I thought you were dead.
Aunt Ethel. Oh no, I am very
Somebody
much alive,
open the
thank
This
you.
full-grown girl is your daughter? I've known you since you were a baby.
I know.
What's her name, dear?
This is Myrtle, Aunt Ethel. Myrtle May, for the 2 sisters of her father. He's dead, that's what confused you.
Where's Elwood?
He can be here. Now, Aunt Ethel, let me get you some tea.
Elwood isn't here.
No.
Oh, shame on him. That was the main reason I came. I want to see Elwood.
Come, there are loads of people anxious to speak to you.
Do you realize, Vida? It's been years since I've seen Elwood.
No. Where does the time go?
But I don't understand it. I was saying to Mr. Chauvenet only the other night, what on earth do you suppose has happened to Elwood Dowd? He never comes to the club meetings anymore. I haven't seen him at a horse show in years. So would see anybody these days, Vida?
Oh, yes, Aunt Ethel. Elwood sees somebody.
Oh, yes.
Your Uncle Elwood, child, is one of my favorite people. Always has been.
Yes, I remember.
Is Elwood happy, Vida?
Elwood is very happy, Aunt Ethel. You don't need to worry about Elwood. Why? There, Mrs. Fran Cummings just came in. Don't you want to speak to her?
My, but she looks ghastly. Hasn't she failed, though?
If you think she looks badly, you should see him.
Is that so? I must have them over. She looks frightful. I thought she was dead.
Oh, no.
Now, what about tea, Vida?
Certainly. If you do forgive me, I will precede you.
Elwood! Elwood Dowd, bless your heart.
Aunt Ethel! What a pleasure to come in and find a beautiful woman waiting for me.
Elwood, you haven't changed.
Come along, Aunt Ethel. You mustn't miss the party.
There's punch if you don't like tea.
But I do like tea. Stop pulling at me, you two. Elwood, what night next week can you come to dinner?
Any night. Any night at all, Aunt Ethel. I would be delighted.
Elwood, there's some mail for you today. I took it up to your room.
Oh, did you, Vida? That was nice of you. Aunt Ethel, I want you to meet Harvey. As you can see, he's a puka. Harvey, you've heard me speak of Mrs. Chauvenet. We always called her Aunt Ethel. She is one of my oldest and dearest friends. Yes, that's right. She's the one. This is the one. He says he would have known you anywhere. You both look lovely. Come on in with me, Harvey. We must say hello to all of our friends. I beg your pardon, Aunt Ethel. If you'll excuse me just one moment.
What?
You're standing in his way. Come along, Harvey. Go right on in, Harvey. I'll join you in a minute. Aunt Ethel, I can see that you're disturbed about Harvey. But please, don't be. He stares like that at everybody. It's his way. Oh, but he liked you. I could tell. He liked you very much.
Some tea, perhaps.
Why, not right now. I think I'll be running along.
But I'm so sorry.
I'll be talking with you later. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Oh, God. Oh, my God!
Myrtle, where are you going?
Up to my room. He's introducing Harvey to everyone. I can't face those people now. I wish I were dead.
Come back here. Stay with me. We'll get him out of there and upstairs to his room.
I won't do it. I can't.
Myrtle,
I can't.
Now, pretend I'm fixing your corsage.
Oh, Mother.
We've got to. Pretend we're having a gay little chat. Keep looking. When you catch his eye, tell me. He always comes when I call him. And now then, do you see him yet?
No, not yet. How do you do, Mrs. Cummings?
Smile, can't you? Have you no pride? I'm smiling, and he's my own brother.
Oh, Mother. People get run over by trucks every day. Why can't something like that happen to Uncle Elwood?
Myrtle May Simmons, I'm ashamed of you. This thing is not your uncle's fault.
Ouch, you're sticking me with that pin.
That's Miss Ellerby. Keep looking, keep smiling.
Mrs. Cummings is leaving. He must have told her what Harvey is.
Hello, this is Mrs. Simmons. Should you come in the clothes you have on? What have you on? Who is this? But I don't know any Miss Greenwalt. Should you what? May I ask who invited you? Mr. Dowd. Thank you just the same, but I believe there's been a mistake. Well, I never.
Never what?
One of your Uncle Elwood's friends, she asked me if she should bring a quart of gin to the Wednesday Forum.
There he is. He's talking to Mrs. Halsey.
Is Harvey with him?
What a thing to ask. How can I tell? How can anybody tell about Uncle Elwood?
Oh, Elwood, could I see you a moment, dear? I promise you, your Uncle Elwood has disgraced us for the last time in this house. I'm going to do something I've never done before.
What did you mean before when you said it wasn't Uncle Elwood's fault? If it's not his fault, whose fault is it then?
Oh, never you mind. I know whose fault it is. Now, lift up your head and smile and go back in as though nothing happened.
You're no match for Uncle Elwood.
You'll see.
Mother's waiting for you.
Elwood, could I see you a moment, dear?
Yes, sister. Excuse me, Harvey.
Elwood, would you mind sitting down in here and waiting for me until the party's over? I want to speak to you. It's very important.
Of course, sister. I happen to have a little free time now, and you're welcome to all of it, Vita. Would you like Harvey to wait too?
Yes, Elwood, I certainly do.
Jane Austen. No. Sit down, Harvey. Vita wants to talk to us. She said it was important. I think she wants to congratulate us on the impression we made at her party. Oh, Jane Austen. Deluxe edition. Limited. Grosset and Dunlap. The usual acknowledgments. Chapter 1.
Ding dong, do you hear the bells go ding dong? Do you know why they're ringing? Do you know why the birds are singing? Well, you're gonna get a big surprise, 'cause I'm gonna put you wise. The bells are ringing for me and my gal. The birds are singing for me and my gal. Everybody's been knowing to a wedding they're going, and for weeks they've been sewing. Every Susie and Sal, they're congregating.
Here's the church.
For me and my gal.
And here's the steeple.
The parson's waiting.
Open the door.
For me and my gal.
And there's the people.
And sometime we're gonna build a little home for 2 or 3 or 4 or more in love land for me and my gal.
Mrs. O.R. Simmons, 343 Temple Drive. Is that right?
We were born and raised there. It's old, but we love it. It's our home.
And you wish to enter your brother here for treatment at the sanitarium. Your brother's name?
It's... Oh!
Mrs. Simmons, please, what is your brother's name?
I'm sorry. Life is not easy for any of us. I'll have to hold my head high and go on just the same. That's what I keep telling Myrtle, and that's what Myrtle May keeps telling me. She's heartbroken about her uncle, Elwood. Elwood P. Dowd, that's it.
Elwood P. Dowd. His age?
47, the 24th of last April. He's Taurus the bull. I'm Leo, and Myrtle is on a cusp.
47. Is he married?
No, Elwood has never married. He stayed with Mother. He was always a great homeboy. He loved his home.
And do you have him with you now?
He's in a taxi cab down in the driveway. I gave the driver $1 to watch him, but I didn't tell the man why. You can't tell these things to perfect strangers.
Mr. Wilson, would you be good to step down to the driveway and ask Mr. Dowd if he could come up to room number 24, South Wing G?
Ask him?
This is his sister, Mrs. Simmons.
Why, certainly. I'll be glad to escort him.
Thank you.
The rates here, Mrs. Simmons, you'll find them printed on this card.
That will all be taken care of by my mother's estate. The late Marcella Piney Dowd. Judge Gaffney is our attorney.
Okay, well, I'll see if Dr. Sanderson can see you.
Dr. Sanderson? I want to see Dr. Chumley himself.
Oh, Mrs. Simmons, you're mistaken. Dr. Sanderson is the one who sees everyone. Dr. Chumley sees no one.
He's still head of this institution, isn't he? He's still a psychiatrist, isn't he?
Still a psychiatrist, Mrs. Simmons. Dr. Chumley is a psychiatrist with a nationwide reputation. Whenever people have mental breakdowns, they at once think of Dr. Chumley.
That's his office, isn't it? Well, you march right on in there and tell him I want to see him. If he knows who's in here, he'll come out here.
Well, I wouldn't dare do that, Mrs. Simmons. I'd be discharged if I did.
Well, I don't like to be pushed off onto any second fiddle.
Dr. Sanderson is no second fiddle. He's young, of course, and he hasn't been out of med school very long, but Dr. Chumley tried out 12, and he kept Dr. Sanderson. He really is wonderful to the patients.
Very well. Tell him I'm here.
Right away, Mrs. Simmons.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear.
Isn't this wonderful?
Mrs. Simmons?
I didn't hear you come in. You startled me. You're Dr. Sanderson?
Yes, will you be seated, please?
Thank you. I hope you don't think I'm jumpy like that all the time, but
Of course not. Miss Kelly tells me that you were concerned about your brother. Dowd, is it Elwood P. Dowd?
Yes, Doctor. This isn't easy for me, Doctor.
Naturally, these things aren't easy for the families of patients. I understand.
It's what Elwood is doing to himself, Doctor. That's the thing. Myrtle May has a right to nice friends. She's young and her whole life is before her. That's my daughter.
Your daughter. Now, how long would you say it's been since you began to notice any peculiarity in your brother's actions?
I noticed it right away, when Mother died and Myrtle May and I came back home from Des Moines to live with Elwood. I could see that he
what? Take your time, Mrs. Simmons. Don't strain. Let it come. I'll wait.
Doctor, everything I say to you is confidential, isn't it?
That's understood.
Because it's a slap in the face to everything we stood for in this community, the way Elwood is acting now.
I'm not a gossip, Mrs. Simmons. I'm a psychiatrist.
Well, for one thing, he drinks.
To excess?
To excess? Well, don't you call it excess when a man ever lets a day go by without stepping into one of those cheap taverns, sitting around with riffraff and people you've never heard of, inviting them to the house, playing cards with them, giving them food and money? And here I am trying to get Myrtle May started with a nice group of young people. If that isn't excess, I'm sure I don't know what excess is.
I didn't doubt your statement, Mrs. Simmons. I merely asked if your brother drinks.
Well, yes, I say, definitely, Elwood drinks. And I want him committed out here permanently because I cannot stand another day at that Harvey. Myrtle May and I have to set a place at the table for Harvey. We have to move over on the sofa to make room for Harvey. We have to answer the telephone when Elwood calls and asks to speak to Harvey. And then at the party this afternoon with Mr. Chauvenet there, we didn't even know anything about Harvey until we came out here. Doctor, don't you think it would have been a little kinder of Mother to have written and told us about Harvey? Be honest now, don't you?
I really couldn't answer that question.
Well, I can. Yes, it certainly would have.
This person you call Harvey, who is he?
He's a rabbit.
Perhaps, but just who is he? Some companion? Someone your brother has picked up in these bars of whom you disapprove?
Doctor, I've been telling you, Harvey is a rabbit. A big white rabbit, 6 feet high. Or is it 6 feet and a half? Heaven knows, I ought to know. He's been around the house long enough.
Now let me understand this, Mrs. Simmons. You say...
Do I have to keep repeating myself? My brother insists that his closest friend is this big white rabbit. This rabbit is named Harvey. Harvey lives at our house. Don't you understand? He and Elwood go every place together. Elwood buys railroad tickets, theater tickets for the both of them. As I told Myrtle May, if your uncle was so lonesome, he had to bring something home. Why couldn't he bring home something human? He has me, doesn't he? He has Myrtle May, doesn't he? Doctor, I'm going to tell you something I've never told anyone in the world before. Every once in a while, I see that big white rabbit myself. Now, isn't that terrible? I've never even told Myrtle May.
Mrs. Simmons.
And what's more, he's every bit as big as Elwood says he is. But don't ever tell anybody I told you so, Doctor. I'm ashamed of it.
I can see that you've been under a great nervous strain recently.
Well, I certainly have.
Grief over your mother's death depressed you considerably?
Nobody knows how much.
Losing sleep?
How could anybody sleep with that going on?
Short-tempered over trifles?
You just try living with those two and see how your temper holds up.
Losing appetite?
Nobody could eat at a table with my brother and a big white rabbit. Well, I'm finished with it. I'll sell the house, be appointed conservator of Elwood's estate, and Myrtle May and I can entertain our friends in peace. It's too much, Doctor. I just can't stand it.
Of course, Mrs. Simmons, of course it is. You're tired.
Oh, yes, I am.
You've been worrying a great deal.
Yes, I have. I can't help it.
And now I'm going to help you.
Oh, Doctor.
Just sit there quietly, Mrs. Simmons. I'll be right back.
I'll just go down to the cab and get Elwood's things.
Why didn't somebody answer that buzzer?
I didn't hear you, Doctor.
I rang it. Mrs. Simmons, Stout McGowan Wilson, that poor woman must not leave the grounds.
She's made with the getaway, huh, Doc?
Her condition is serious. Go after her.
Oh, I can't believe this.
Main gate. Henry. Dr. Sanderson. Henry, allow no one out of the main gate. We have a patient on the loose. I shouldn't have left her alone, but nobody answered the buzzer.
Wilson was in South, Doctor.
What have you available, Miss Kelly?
Number 13, upper west room is ready, Doctor.
Have her taken there immediately, and I will prescribe preliminary treatment. I must contact her brother. Dowd is the name. Elwood B. Dowd. Get him on the telephone for me, will you, please?
But, Doctor, the woman said the treatment was for her brother.
Of course she did. It's the oldest dodge in the world. Always used by a cunning type of psychopath. Apparently, she knew her brother was about to commit her, so she came out to discredit him. Would you get him on the telephone?
But, Doctor, I thought the woman was telling the truth. So I had Wilson take the brother up to room number 24. He's there now.
You had Wilson take the brother up? No gags, please, Kelly. You're not serious, are you?
Oh, I did, Doctor, I did. Oh, Doctor, I'm terribly sorry.
Oh, well, then if you're sorry, that fixes everything. Damn woman, oh no.
I'll do it, Doctor, I'll do it. Mrs. Dunphy, would you open the door to number 24, give Mr. Dowd his clothes, and...
Ask him to step down to the office right away.
Ask him to step down to the office right away. This has been a terrible mistake, and Dr. Sanderson wants to explain.
Explain, apologize.
She hadn't put him in the hydro tub yet. She'll let him out.
Beautiful. And dumb, too. It's almost too good to be true.
Look, Doctor, I feel terrible. I didn't know. Judge Gaffney called and said Mrs. Simmons and her brother would be down here, and then she came in and... You don't have to be sarcastic.
Oh, don't I? Stop worrying, Kelly. We'll squirm out of it some way.
Where are you going?
I've got to tell the chief about this, Kelly. He may want to handle it himself.
No, you can't do that. He'll be furious. I know he will. He'll die, and then he'll terminate me.
The responsibility's all mine, Kelly.
Oh, no, Doctor, tell him it was all my fault.
I never mention your name. Except in my sleep.
But But this man, Dowd...
Don't let him get away. I'll be right back.
But what shall I do? What shall I say to him? He'll be furious. I know he will.
Look, Kelly, he'll probably be fit to be tied. But he's a man, isn't he?
I guess so. His name is Mr.
Go into your old routine. You know, the eyes, the swish, the works. I'm immune, but I've seen it work on some other people. Some of the patients out here. Keep him here, Kelly, if you have to do a striptease.
Oh, you're wonderful, Dr. Sanderson. You're the most wonderful person I've ever met in my life.
Yeah? But how about giving me a lift here just the same?
What?
That's Simmons' dame.
Did you catch her?
Slick as a whistle. She was coming along the path humming a little tune. I jumped at her from behind the tree and I says, "Sister, there's a man that wants to see ya." You should have heard her yell. She's wacky, all right.
Okay, well, take her to number 13.
She's there now. I brought her in through the diet kitchen. She was kicking and screaming like hell. I'll tell you what, though. I'll hold her down if you come and undress her.
Not so fast, Wilson. Dr. Sanderson told me to stay here until her brother came back.
Make it snappy.
Oh, excuse me. You're Mr. Dowd?
Elwood P.
I'm Miss Kelly.
Let me give you one of my cards. If you should want to call me at this number. Don't call me at that one. That's the old one.
Well, okay, thank you.
Perfectly all right. And if you lose it, don't worry, my dear. I have plenty more.
Well, won't you please be seated?
Oh, thank you. I'll have 2 seats. Allow me.
Okay, well, Dr. Sanderson will see you in a minute. Please, sit down.
After you, my dear.
Oh, I really can't. Thank you, but I'm in and out of here all the time. Please, sit down.
After you.
Okay, then. Well, would you like to have a magazine to look at while you wait?
I would much rather look at you, Miss Kelly, if you don't mind. You really are very lovely.
Oh, well, thank you. Some people don't seem to think so.
Some people are blind. That is often brought to my attention. And now, Miss Kelly, I would like to have you meet a very dear...
Mr. Dowd?
Elwood P. Let me give you one of my cards. If you...
Mr. Dowd, I'm Dr. Lyman Sanderson, Dr. Chumley's assistant out here.
Oh, well, good for you. I'm happy to know you, Doctor. How are you?
That's going to depend on you, I'm afraid. Please sit down. You've met Miss Kelly, Mr. Dowd.
I have had that pleasure. And I would like you both to meet a very...
Later on, be glad to. Please have a seat, because first I would like to say...
After Miss Kelly.
Sit down, Kelly. Is that chair quite comfortable, Mr. Dowd?
Yes, thank you. Would you care to try it?
No, thank you. How about an ashtray? Could we get Mr. Dowd an ashtray? Is it too warm in here for you, Mr. Dowd? Would you like me to open a window?
Mr. Dowd, Dr. Sanderson wants to know if he should open a window.
Well, that's entirely up to him. I wouldn't presume to live his life for him.
Now then, Mr. Dowd, I can see that you're not the type of person to be taken by any high-flown phrases or beating about the bush.
Oh, is that so, Doctor?
You have us at a disadvantage here. You know it, we know it. Let's lay the cards on the table.
That certainly appeals to me, Doctor.
Best way to go in the long run. People are people, no matter where you go.
That is very often the case.
And being human are therefore liable to make mistakes. Miss Kelly and I have made a mistake out here this afternoon, Dowd, and we'd like to explain it to you.
It wasn't Dr. Sanderson's fault, Mr. Dowd. It was all mine.
Human failing, as I said.
Well, I find it very interesting, nevertheless. You and Miss Kelly here? This afternoon, you say?
We do hope you'll understand, Mr. Dowd.
Yes. These things are often the basis of a long and warm friendship.
And the responsibilities, of course, not hers, but mine.
Your attitude may be old-fashioned, Doctor, but I like it.
Now, if I'd seen your sister first, this would have been an entirely different story.
Now, there, you surprise me, Doctor. I think the world and all of Vita, but I'd suppose she had seen her day.
You must not attach any blame to her. She's a very sick woman. Came in here insisting you were in need of treatment. That's perfectly ridiculous.
Vita shouldn't be upset about me. I get along fine.
Exactly, but she had already talked to Miss Kelly and we received a call from your family lawyer. Judge Gaffney?
Oh, yes, I know him. Know his wife, too. Nice people.
Could I get you something, Mr. Dowd?
What did you have in mind?
A light. Here, let me give you a light. Your sister was extremely nervous and immediately plunged into a heated tirade on your drinking.
That was Vita.
She became hysterical.
I tell Vita not to worry about that. I'll take care of that.
Exactly. Oh, I suppose you have a drink now and then, same as the rest of us?
Oh, yes, I do. As a matter of fact, I would like one right now.
Matter of fact, so would I. But your sister's reaction to the matter of your drinking was entirely too intense. Does your sister drink, Mr. Dowd?
Oh, no. No, I don't believe Vita has ever taken a drink.
Well, then I'm going to surprise you. I believe that she has and does constantly.
I'm certainly surprised.
But it's not her alcoholism that's going to be the basis for my diagnosis in this case. It was when she began speaking so emotionally about this big white rabbit. Harvey. I believe she called him Harvey.
Harvey is his name.
She claimed you were persecuting her with this Harvey.
I haven't been persecuting her with Harvey. Vita shouldn't feel that way. And now, doctor, before we go any further...
Let me make my point first, Dowd. This condition of your sister's didn't come up overnight. It stems from trauma.
From what?
From trauma, spelled T-R-A-U-M-A. It means shock. Nothing unusual about it. There's, of course, the birth trauma, the shock to the act of being born.
That's the one we never get over.
You have a nice sense of humor, Dowd, doesn't he, Miss Kelly?
Yes, doctor.
Oh, may I say the same about both of you?
To sum it all up, your sister's condition is serious. I can help her, but she must remain out here temporarily.
I've always wanted Vita to have everything she needs.
Exactly.
But I wouldn't want Vita to stay out here unless she liked it out here and wanted to stay here.
Did Wilson get what he was going after, Miss Kelly?
Yes, doctor.
What was Mrs. Simmons' attitude?
Not unusual, doctor.
Now then, Mr. Dowd, if this had been an ordinary delusion, something reflected on the memory picture, in other words, if this had been something she had seen once, that would be one story. This is far more serious. It stands to reason that nobody has ever seen a white rabbit 6 feet tall.
Not very often, doctor.
I like you, Dowd.
I like you too, doctor. And Miss Kelly here. I like her too.
So she must be committed out here temporarily. Under these circumstances, I would commit my own grandmother.
Oh, does your grandmother drink too?
It's just an expression, Dowd. Now, if I could have you sign these temporary commitment papers as next of kin, just a formality?
You'd better have Vita do that, doctor. She always does all the signing and managing for the family. She's good at it.
We can't disturb her now.
Perhaps I'd better talk it over with Judge Gaffney.
You can explain it all to him later. Tell him I advised it. And it isn't as if you couldn't come in here anytime you wanted. Glad to have you. When would you like to come back? I'll make out a visitor's pass for you. Wednesday, Friday?
You and Miss Kelly have been so pleasant, I can come back right after dinner. About an hour.
Well, we're pretty busy around here, but I guess that's all right.
I don't really have to go now. I'm not very hungry.
Glad to have you stay, but Miss Kelly and I have to get on upstairs now. Plenty of work to do. But I'll tell you what you might like to do.
What might I like to do?
We don't usually do this, but just to make sure in your mind that your sister is in good hands, why don't you have a look around? If you go up those stairs and down the hallway, you'll find the occupational therapy room. Then if you take a left, you'll find the library, the conservatory, and the diet kitchen.
Perhaps for Vita's sake, I'd better do that, doctor.
Very well then. It's been a great pleasure to have this little talk with you, Mr. Dowd.
I've enjoyed it too, doctor, meeting you and Miss Kelly.
And I will say that for a layman, you show an unusually acute perception into psychiatric problems.
Is that a fact? I never thought I knew anything about it. Nobody does, do you think?
Well, the good psychiatrist is not found under every bush.
You have to pick the right bush. Since we all seem to have enjoyed this so much, let's keep right on. I would like to invite you to come with me now down to Charlie's place and have a drink. When I enjoy people, I like to stay right with them.
Sorry, we're on duty right now. Give us a rain check. Some other time, glad to.
When?
Well, Miss Kelly and I don't get off until 10 o'clock at night, so...
Oh, let's go to Charlie's at 10 o'clock tonight.
Well...
and you, Miss Kelly?
Dr. Chumley doesn't approve of members of the staff fraternizing. But since you've been so understanding, perhaps we can manage it.
I'll pick you up out here in a cab at 10 o'clock tonight, and the four of us will spend a happy evening. I want you both to become acquainted with a very dear friend of mine. You said later on, so later on it'll be. Goodbye now.
Well, I can finally breathe again.
Boy, that was a close shave, all right. But he was pretty reasonable. He was proud. What he has to be proud of, I don't know. But I played up to that pride. You can get to almost anybody if you want to. Now I must go check in on that Simmons woman.
Doctor, you said that you could get to anyone if you wanted to? How do you do that?
Takes study, Kelly. Years of specialized training. You know, there's only one thing I don't like about this Dowd business.
What's that?
Having to make that date with him. Of course, he's left here as a good friend and a booster of the sanitarium. So I guess I'll have to go with him, but you don't have to.
Oh.
Nothing about it. I'll go with him, have a drink, pat him on the back, and leave. I've got a date tonight anyways.
Oh! Yeah, by all means. I didn't intend to go anyways. The idea bored me stiff. I wouldn't go if it's the last thing I can do on this earth. I wouldn't go if it's the only thing I can do on this earth.
What's the matter with you, Kelly? What are you getting so emotional about?
He may have been a funny man with peculiar clothes, but he knew how to act. His manners were impeccable.
I saw you giving him the dollpuss stare. I didn't miss that.
He wouldn't sit down till I sat down. He said I was lovely and he called me dear. I'd go have a date with him if you weren't going.
Sure you would. And look at him. All he does is hang around in bars. He doesn't work. All that corny bowing and getting up out of his chair every time a woman makes a move. Why? He's as outdated as a cast iron deer. But you'd sit with him in a bar and let him flatter you. You're a wonderful girl, Kelly.
Oh, now, listen here.
Dr. Sanderson? Miss Kelly?
Yes,
Doctor?
Tell the gardener to prune more carefully around my prized dahlias near the fence by the main road. They'll be ready for cutting next week. The difficulty of the woman with the large white rabbit, has it been smoothed over?
Yes, Doctor. I spoke to her brother, and he was quite reasonable.
While I've had many patients who have seen animals, I've never had a patient with an animal that large.
Yet, Doctor, she called him Harvey.
Harvey? Unusual name for an animal of any kind. Harvey is a man's name. I've met many men in my day named Harvey, but I've never met an animal of any kind whatsoever with that name. This case has an interesting phase, Doctor.
Yes, Doctor.
I will now go upstairs with you and look in on this woman. It may be that we can use my formula 977 on her. I will give you my advice in prescribing the treatment, Doctor.
Thank you, Doctor.
And now, may I ask, what is that hat doing on the table? Whose is it?
I don't know. Do you know Miss Kelly was a Dowd's?
No, Doctor. Dowd had his hat on. It could belong to a relative of one of the patients.
Hand me the hat. There may be some kind of identification here. What's this? 2 holes cut in the crown of this hat, see?
Well, that's strange.
Some new fad. Hang it up, put it away, get it out of here.
Dr. Chumley!
Oh, there you are.
How's every little old thing?
Fair. Thank you, Wilson. Fair.
Look, somebody's got to give me a hand with that Simmons thing. Order a restraining jacket or something. I mean, she's terrible. There you are. Forgot about me, didn't ya? Well, I got a corset off all by myself.
We're going upstairs to see this woman right now, Wilson.
She's in a hydrotub now. My God, I left the water running on her.
Willie, remember your promise. Hello, Dr. Sanderson. Willie, you haven't forgotten Dr. McClure's cocktail party? We promised them faithfully.
That's right. I have to go up now and check in on a patient. Be down shortly.
Give a quick little diagnosis, Willie. We don't want to be late to the party. I'm dying to see the inside of that house. Good evening.
Good evening.
I am Mrs. Chumley, Dr. Chumley's wife.
I'm happy to know that. Dowd is my name, Elwood P. Let me give you one of my cards. If you should want to call me at this one. Don't call me at that one, because that's the old one.
Thank
you. Is there something I can do for you?
What did you have in mind?
You seem to be looking for someone.
Yes, I am. I'm looking for Harvey. I went off without him.
Harvey? Is he a patient here?
Oh, no, nothing like that.
Or does he work here?
Oh, no. He is what you might call my best friend. He's also a puka. He came out here with me and Vita this afternoon.
Where was he when you last saw him?
In that chair there, with his hat and coat on the table.
There doesn't appear to be any hat and coat around here now. Perhaps he left?
Apparently. I don't see him anywhere.
What was that word you just said? Puka?
Yes, that's it.
Is that something new?
Oh, no. As I understand it, that's something very old.
Really? I'd never happened to hear it before.
I'm not too surprised at that. I hadn't myself until I met him. I do hope you get the opportunity to meet him. I'm sure he would be quite taken with you.
Really? Well, that's very nice of you to say so, I'm sure.
Not at all. If Harvey happens to take a liking to someone, he expresses himself quite definitely. If not, he just lies there like an empty chair or an empty space on the floor. Harvey takes his time making his mind up about people. Choosy, you see.
That's not such a bad way to be in this day and age.
Harvey is very fond of my sister, Vita. That's because he's fond of me, and Vita and I come from the same family. Now, you'd think that feeling would be mutual, wouldn't you? But Vita doesn't seem to care for Harvey. Don't you think that's rather too bad, Mrs. Chumley?
Oh, I don't know, Mr. Dowd. I gave up a long time ago expecting my family to like my friends. It's useless.
No. But we must keep on trying.
There's no harm in trying, I suppose.
Because if Harvey has said to me once, he has said to me 1,000,000 times, Mr. Dowd, I would do anything for you. Mrs. Chumley,
yes?
Did you know that Mrs. McElhenney's Aunt Rose is going to drop in on her unexpectedly tonight from Cleveland?
Why, no, I didn't.
Neither does she. That puts you both in the same boat, doesn't it?
Well, I don't know anybody named Mrs.
Mrs. McElhenney lives next door to us. She is a wonderful woman. Harvey told me about her Aunt Rose. That's an interesting little news item, and you are perfectly free to pass it on.
Well,
Would you care to come into town with me now, my dear? I would be glad to buy you a drink.
Thank you, but I'm waiting for Dr. Chumley, and if he came down here and found me gone, he'd be liable to raise... He'd be irritated.
No, we wouldn't want that, would we? Some other time, maybe.
I'll tell you what I'll do, however.
What will you do, however? I'm interested.
If your friend comes in while I'm still here, I'd be glad to give him a message for you.
Would you do that? I would certainly appreciate that.
Oh, no trouble at all. I'll write it down on the back of this. What would you like me to say if he comes in?
Tell him to meet me downtown, if he has no other plans.
Meet Mr. Dowd downtown. Any particular place downtown?
He knows where. Harvey knows this town like a book.
Harvey, you know where? Harvey what?
Just Harvey.
I'll tell you what.
What?
The doctor and I are going right downtown to 12th and Monview. Dr. McClure is having a cocktail party.
Oh, a cocktail party at 12th and Monview.
We're driving there in just a few minutes. We could give your friend a lift into town?
I hate to impose on you, but I would certainly appreciate that.
No trouble at all. Dr. McClure's having this party for a sister from Wichita.
I didn't know Dr. McClure had a sister in Wichita.
Oh, you know Dr. McClure?
No.
But...
you're quite sure you haven't time to come into town with me, my dear?
I really couldn't, but thank you just the same.
No. Some other time, perhaps.
Thank you.
It's been very pleasant to meet you, and I hope to see you again sometime.
Yes, so do I.
Goodbye, my dear. You can't miss Harvey. He's very tall. Like that.
That Simmons woman is uncooperative, Doctor. She refuses to admit to me that she has this big white rabbit, insists that it's her brother. Give her 2 of these at 9 and another one at 10 if she continues to be so restless. Another trip to the Hydro room at 8 and 1 in the morning at 7. Then we'll see if she won't be so uncooperative now, won't we, Doctor?
Yes, Doctor.
You know where to call me if you need me. Ready, Pat?
Yes, Willie. And oh, Willie.
Yes?
There was a man here, a man named, let me see. Oh, here's his card. Dowd, Elwood P. Dowd.
That's Mrs. Simmons' brother, Doctor. I told him he could have full visiting privileges.
She mustn't see anyone tonight, not anyone at all. Tell him that.
Yes, Doctor.
He didn't ask to see her. He was looking for someone, some friend of his.
Who could that be, Dr. Sanderson?
I don't know, Doctor.
He said it was someone he came out here with this afternoon.
Was there anyone with that when you saw him, Miss Kelly?
No, Doctor, not when I saw him. Well, he said there was. He said his friend was sitting in that chair there with his hat and coat. He seemed quite disappointed.
Dr. Sanderson.
I told him if we located his friend, we could give him a lift into town. He could ride in the back seat. Was that all right, Willie?
Of course, of course.
Oh, here it is. I wrote it down on the back of this. His friend's name was Harvey. Harvey? He said something else about him, Puka, but I didn't quite get what that was.
Harvey!
He said his friend was very tall. Why are you looking at me like that, Willie? This was a very nice, very polite man. He merely asked that we give his friend a lift into town, and if we can't do a favor for someone, why are we living?
Mrs. Chumley, where did he go? Did he tell you where he was going?
Get me that hat! By George, we'll find out about this.
I don't know where he went just a second ago.
Main gate. Henry. Dr. Sanderson. Henry, did a man in a pink suit walk out through the gate a minute ago?
Gaffney. Judge Gaffney.
He did? He's gone?
Judge Gaffney, this is Dr. William Chumley, the psychiatrist. I'm making a routine checkup on the spelling of a name before entering it into our records. Judge, you telephoned out here this afternoon about having a client of yours committed. How's that name spelled? With a W, not a U. Mr. Elwood P. Dowd. Thank you, Judge. Dr. Sanderson, I believe your name is Sanderson.
Yes, doctor.
You know that much, don't you? You went to medical school, you specialize in the field of psychiatry, and you graduated and you went forth. Perhaps they neglected to tell you that a rabbit has large pointed ears, and that a hat for a rabbit would need to be perforated to make room for those ears.
Dowd seemed reasonable enough this afternoon, doctor.
The function of a psychiatrist is to tell the difference between those who are reasonable and those who merely talk and act reasonably. Kelly, get Wilson. Do you realize what you have done to me? You don't answer? I'll tell you. You have permitted a psychopathic case to walk off these grounds with an overgrown white rabbit. You have subjected me, a psychiatrist, to the humiliation of having to call, of all things, a lawyer to come down here and figure out who came out here to commit and who came out here to be committed.
Dr. Chumley,
Just a minute. Wilson, I want you. I will now have to do something that I haven't done in 15 years. I will have to go out after this patient, Elwood P. Dowd, and bring him back myself. And when I do bring him back, your connection with this institution will be ended as of that moment. Wilson, get the car. Pet, call the McClures and tell them we can't make it. Kelly, come upstairs with me and we'll get that woman out of the hydro tub.
Yes, doctor.
I'll have to tell the cook we'll be home for dinner. She'll be furious. Wilson,
Yes, ma'am?
what is a puka?
A what?
A puka.
You can search me, Mrs. Chumley.
I wonder if it's in the encyclopedia over here. They have everything here. I wonder if it's a lodge or what it is. I don't dare do this now. Dr. Chumley won't want to find me still here when he comes down. He'll raise, oh dear!
P-O-O-K-A. Puka, from old Celtic mythology, a fairy spirit in animal form, always very large. The puka appears here and there, now and then, to this one and that one at his own caprice. A wise but mischievous creature. The puka is very fond of rum pots, crackpots, and how are you, Mr. Wilson? How are you, Mr. Wilson? Yeah? Well, who in the encyclopedia wants to know? To hell with it.
Happy day.
I've been away from you a long
That's right, the stairs at the end of the hall. They go to the 3rd floor. Go right up. I'll be with you in a minute.
Well, where is she?
Where's who? Whom do you mean, Judge Gaffney? Sit down, won't you?
I mean your mother. Where's Vita Louise?
Why, Judge Gaffney, you know where she is. She took Uncle Elwood out to the sanitarium.
I know that. Then why did she call me at the club with a lot of hysteria? Couldn't even get what she was talking about. Carrying on something fierce.
Mother carrying on? What about?
I don't know. She was hysterical.
That's strange. Did you find it? I'll be right up. They found it.
Who? Found what? What are you talking about?
When Mother left the house with Uncle Elwood, I went out to the real estate office to put the house on the market. And what do you think I found there?
I'm not a quiz kid.
There was a man there who was looking for an old house just like this to cut up into buffet apartments. He's going through it now.
Now see here, Myrtle May, this house doesn't belong to you. It belongs to your Uncle Elwood.
But now that Uncle Elwood's locked up, Mother controls the property, doesn't she?
Well, where is your mother? Where's Vita Louise?
Judge, she went out to Chumley's Rest to tell them about Harvey and to lock Uncle Elwood up.
Then why did she call me when I was in the middle of a game and scream at me to meet her here about something important?
I don't know. I simply don't know. Have you got the deed to this house?
Certainly, it's in my safe. Myrtle, I feel pretty bad about this thing of locking Elwood up.
Mother and I will be able to take a long trip now, out to Pasadena.
I always liked that boy. He could have done anything, been anything, made a place for himself in the community.
And all he did was get a big rabbit.
He had everything. Brains, personality, friends. Men liked him. Women liked him. I liked him.
Are you telling me that once Uncle Elwood was like other men, that women actually liked him, I mean, in that way?
Not since he started running around with this big rabbit, but they did once. Once that mailbox of your grandmother's was full of those little blue scented envelopes for Elwood.
I can't believe it.
Of course, there was always something different about Elwood.
I don't doubt that.
Yes, he was always so calm under any sudden change in plans. I used to admire it. I should have been suspicious. Take your average man looking up and seeing a big white rabbit. He'd do something about it. But not Elwood. He took that calmly too, and look where it got him.
You don't dream how far overboard he's gone on this rabbit.
Oh, yes, I do. I'm old, but I don't miss much. He's had that rabbit in my office made. What's that noise?
The prospective buyer on the 3rd floor. Mother! Look, Judge!
Vita Louise, what's wrong, girl?
I never thought I'd see either of you again.
Take hold of her, Judge. She looks like she's gonna faint. Now, Mother, you're all right. You're gonna be perfectly all right.
Steady, steady, girl, steady.
Please, not so fast.
Don't rush her, Myrtle. Ease her in.
Let me sit down. Only get me some place where I can sit down.
Here you are, girl.
Oh, the gas bill.
Oh my.
Get her some tea, Myrtle. Do you want some tea, Vita?
I'll get you some tea, Mother. Get her coat off, Judge.
Let Myrtle get your coat off, Vita. Get her coat off, Myrtle.
Leave me alone. Let me sit here. Let me get my breath.
Let her get her breath, Judge.
Let me sit here a minute, and then let me get upstairs to my own bed where I can let go.
What happened to you, Mother?
Omer, I want you to sue them. They put me in and let Elwood out.
What's this?
Mother!
Just look at my hair.
But why? What did you say? What did you do? You must have done something.
I didn't do one thing. I simply told them about Elwood and Harvey.
Then how could it happen to you? I don't understand it.
I told them about Elwood, and then I went down to the cab to get his things. As I was walking along the path, this awful man stepped out. He was a barbarian, I know he was. He had on one of those white suits. That's how they advertise.
A man? What did he do, Mother?
What did he do? He took me in there, and then he...
Go on, Vita Louise. Go on, girl.
Poor Mother. Was he a young man?
Myrtle May, I think it's best you leave the room.
Now? I should say not. Go on, Mother.
Go on, Vita.
He took me upstairs and tore my clothes off.
Oh, did you hear that, Judge? Go on, Mother.
By God, I'll sue them for this.
And then he sat me down in a tub of water.
Oh, for heaven's sakes.
I always thought that what you were showed on your face. Don't you believe it, Judge? Don't you believe it, Myrtle? This man took hold of me like I was a woman of the streets. But I fought. I always said that if a man jumped at me, I'd fight. Haven't I always said that, Myrtle?
She's always said that, Judge. That's what she's always told me to do.
And then he hustled me into that sanitarium and sat me down in that tub of water and began treating me like I was,
A what?
a crazy woman. But he did that just for spite.
I'll be damned.
And then those doctors came upstairs and asked me a whole lot of questions all about sex urges and all that filthy stuff. That place ought to be cleaned up, Omer. You better get the authorities to clean it up.
I will, girl. By God, I will.
You've got to do something about it, Judge. You've got to sue them.
If Chumley thinks he can run an unsavory place like this, he'll be publicly chastised. By God, I'll run him out of the state.
Tell me, Judge, is that all those doctors do at places like that? Think about sex?
I don't know.
Because if it is, they ought to be ashamed of themselves. It's all in their head anyways. Why don't they go for long walks in the fresh air? Judge Gaffney walked everywhere for years, didn't you, Judge?
Now let me take some notes on this. These doctors, Dr. Chumley and what was the other doctor's name?
Sanderson. But, Judge, don't you pay any attention to anything he tells you. He's a liar. Close set eyes, they're always liars. Besides, I told him something in the strictest confidence, and he blabbed it.
What did you tell him, Mother?
Oh, what difference does it make? Let's forget it. I don't even want to talk about it. You can't trust anybody.
Anything you told this Dr. Sanderson, you can tell us, Vita Louise. This is your daughter, and I am your lawyer.
I know which is which. I don't want to talk about it. I want to sue them, and I want to get in my own bed.
But, Mother, this is the important thing anyway. Where is Uncle Elwood?
I should have known better than to try to do something about him. Something protects him, that awful puka.
Where is Uncle Elwood? Answer me.
How should I know? They let him go. They're not interested in men in places like that. Don't act so naive, Myrtle May. What's that noise?
I found a buyer for the house.
What?
Listen, Mother, no matter who jumped at you, we've still got to lock up Uncle Elwood.
I don't know where he is. The next time you take him, Judge, wait until Elwood hears what they did to me. He won't stand for it. Don't forget to sue them, Judge. A Myrtle May. All I hope is that never, never, as long as you live, a man pulls the clothes off of you and dumps you down into a tub of water.
Now see, Mother muffed everything. No matter what happened out there, Uncle Elwood is still wandering around with Harvey.
The thing for me to do is take some more notes.
It's all Uncle Elwood's fault. He found out what she was up to, and he put her in. Then he ran.
Oh, no, don't talk like that. Your uncle thinks the world and all of your mother. Ever since he was a little boy, he always wanted to share everything he had with her.
I'm not giving up. We'll get detectives. We'll find him. And besides, you better save some of that sympathy for me and Mother. You don't know what we have to put up with. Just wait till I show you something he brought home about 6 months ago, and we hid it out in the garage. Just wait till I show you.
I'm going up to talk to Vita. There's more in this than she's letting on.
Just wait till I show you, Judge.
Okay, I'll wait.
Okay. Is he here?
What? What's this?
That crackpot with the rabbit. Is he here?
No, and who, may I ask, are you?
Get a load of this guy. Not here, Doctor. Okay. Dr. Chumley's coming in anyway. What was your name?
Chumley. Well, I've got something to say to him.
What's your name? Let's have it.
I am Judge Gaffney. Where is Chumley?
The reason I asked your name is the doctor always likes to know who he's talking to. Dr. Chumley. This guy says his name is Judge Gaffney.
Well, Chumley.
Good evening, Judge. Let's not waste time. Has he been here?
Who, Elwood? No, but see here, Doctor.
You sure he ain't been here? He's wise now. He's hiding. It'll be an awful job to smoke him out.
It will be more difficult, but I'll do it. They're sly and they're cunning, but I get them. I always get them. Have you got a list of the places that we've been, Wilson?
Right here, Doctor.
Read it.
We've been to 17 bars Eddie's place, Charlie's place, Bessie's Bond Dance, the 4th Avenue Firehouse, the 10th and 12th and 9th Avenue firehouses, just to make sure, the Union Station, and the grain elevator. Say, why does this guy go down to a grain elevator?
The foreman is a friend of his. He has many friends, many places.
I have stopped by here today to ask Mrs. Simmons if she has any suggestions as to where we might look for him.
Doctor, I have to inform you that Mrs. Simmons has retained me to file suit against you.
What?
For what happened to her at the sanitarium this afternoon.
A suit?
And while we're on that subject...
Well, ain't that pretty, Doctor? After us dragging your tail all around town trying to find that guy.
What happened this afternoon was an unfortunate mistake. I've already discharged my assistant who made it, and I am prepared to take charge of this man's case personally. It interests me. And my interest in a case is something no amount of money can buy. You can ask any of them.
But this business this afternoon, Doctor...
Water under the dam. Here's how I see this thing. The important item now is to get this man and bring him to the sanitarium where he belongs.
That's right, Judge. That's just what I think.
Let me introduce Miss Myrtle May Simmons, Mr. Dowd's niece, Mrs. Simmons' daughter.
How do you do, Dr. Chumley?
How do you do, Miss Simmons?
Well, hello, Myrtle May.
What? Oh, hello.
Now then, let me talk to Mrs. Simmons.
She won't come down, Doctor. I know she won't. You try to get her to talk to him, Judge.
But see here, your mother was manhandled. She was... God knows what she was. The man's approach to her was not professional. It was personal.
Wilson, this is a serious charge.
Dr. Chumley, I've been with you for 10 years. Are you really gonna believe... What's your name again?
Gaffney, Judge Omar Gaffney.
Yeah, thanks. You take the word of this old blister Gaffney?
Wilson!
Me and a dame who sees a rabbit.
It's not Mrs. Simmons who sees a rabbit. It's her brother.
Yes, it's Uncle Elwood.
If you'll come with me, Doctor.
Very well, Judge. Wilson, I have a situation here. Wait for me.
Okay, Doctor. So, your name's Myrtle May?
What? Oh, yes.
If we grab your uncle, you're liable to be coming out to the sanitarium on visiting days?
Oh, I don't really know.
Well, if you do, I'll be there.
You will? Oh.
And if you don't see me right away, don't give up. Stick around. I'll show up.
You will? Oh.
You heard Dr. Chumley tell me to wait?
Yeah.
Tell you what, while I'm waiting, I sure could use a sandwich and a cup of coffee.
Oh, certainly. If you'll forgive me, I'll precede you into the kitchen.
Up. You're all right, Myrtle May. Dr. Chumley noticed it right away. You don't miss a trick. You know, I'll tell you something else too, Myrtle.
What?
You not only got a nice build, but kid, you got something else too.
What?
You got the screwiest uncle who ever stuck his puss inside our nut house.
Hello, Chumley's Rest. Is Dr. Chumley in? Oh, it's Mrs. Chumley. This is Elwood P. Dowd speaking. How are you tonight? Tell me, Mrs. Chumley, were you able to locate Harvey? No, don't worry about it. I'll find him. I'm sorry I missed you at the McClure cocktail party. The people were all charming, and I was able to leave quite a few of my cards. I waited until you phoned and said you couldn't come out because a patient had escaped. Where am I? I'm here, but I'm leaving right away. I must find Harvey. Well, goodbye, Mrs. Chumley. My regards to you and anybody else you happen to run into. Goodbye.
home and wait. I'm suing you for $50,000, and that's final.
Mrs. Simmons,
Yes? Well, all right.
this picture over your mantle,
That portrait happens to be the pride of this house.
who painted it?
Oh, some man. I forget his name. He was around here for the sittings, and then we paid him, and he went away. Hello? Yes. No. This is Dexter 1567.
I suppose if you have the money to pay people, you can persuade them to do anything.
Well, Dr. Chumley, when you helped me out of the tub at your place, what did I say to you?
You expressed yourself. I don't remember the words exactly.
I said, Dr. Chumley, this is a belated civility. Isn't that what I said?
You said something of the sort.
You brought this up. You might as well learn something quick. I took a course in art last winter. The difference between a fine oil painting and a mechanical thing like a photograph is simply this. A photograph shows only the reality. A painting shows not only the reality, but the dream behind it. It's our dreams that keep us going, that separate us from the beasts. Why, I wouldn't even want to live if I thought it was just eating and sleeping and taking off my clothes while putting them back on. Oh my, doctor, hold me!
Steady now. Don't get too excited. Everything's all right. Now, what is the matter?
Doctor, that is not my mother.
I'm glad to hear that.
Oh, Dr. Elwood's been here. He's been here.
Better be quiet. I'll take it. Hello? Yes, who's calling? Mrs. Simmons, it's your brother.
Oh, let me talk to him.
Don't tell him I'm here. Be casual.
Hello, Elwood. Where are you? What? Oh, just a moment. He won't say where he is. He wants to know if Harvey is here.
Tell him Harvey is here.
But he isn't.
Tell him Harvey is here and that will bring him here, perhaps. Humor him. We have to humor him.
Yes. Elwood, yes, dear, Harvey is here. Why don't you come home? Oh, well, all right. It won't work. He says for me to call Harvey to the telephone.
Say Harvey is here, but he can't come to the telephone. Say he's in the bathtub.
Bathtub?
Say he's in the bathtub, and that when he's done, you'll send him over. That way we'll find out where he is.
Oh, doctor.
Now you've got to do it, Mrs. Simmons.
Hello, Elwood. Yes, dear. Harvey is here, but he can't come to the telephone. He's in the bathtub. I'll send him over as soon as he's dry. Where are you? Where, Elwood?
Did he hang up?
Harvey just walked in the door. He says to look in the bathtub. It must be a stranger. But I know where he is. He's at Harvey's place. That's a bar over on 12th and Main.
12th and Main. That's 2 blocks down and 1 over, isn't it?
Doctor, where are you going?
I'm going there to get your brother and bring him to the sanitarium where he belongs.
Doctor, don't do that. I'm warning you. Send one of your attendants.
But if I am to help your brother,
He
Mrs.
can't
Simmons...
be helped. There's no help left for him. He must be picked up and locked up and left.
You consider your brother a dangerous man?
Dangerous.
Why?
I won't tell you why, but if I didn't, why would I be asking for a permanent commitment for him?
Then I must observe this man. I must watch him as he speaks to this rabbit. He does speak to this rabbit, you say.
They tell each other everything.
What's that?
I said, of course he talks to him. But doctor, don't go after him. You'll regret it if you do.
Nonsense. You underestimate me, Miss Simmons.
Oh no, doctor, you underestimate my brother.
Not at all. Don't worry now. I can handle him.
You can handle him? That's what you think. Myrtle May! Look who's in the bathtub! Oh.
Ding dong, do you hear the bells go ding dong? Do you know what why they're ringing, do you know? Why the birds are singing? Well, you're gonna get a big surprise, 'cause I'm gonna put you wise. The bells are ringing for me and my gal. The birds are singing for me and my gal. Everybody's been knowing to a wedding they're going, and for weeks they've been sewing. Every Susie and Sal, they're congregating.
Here's the church.
For me and my gal.
And here's the steeple.
The parson's waiting.
Open the door.
For me and my gal.
And there's the people.
And sometime we're gonna build a little home for 2 or 3 or 4 or more in Loveland for me and my gal. The bells are ringing for me.
Thank you. I may call back later.
What about the stuff in your room, Doctor? Upstairs?
All packed. Thanks, Wilson.
Tough you getting bounced. I had you pegged for the one who would make the grade.
Those are the breaks.
When do you take off?
As soon as Dr. Chumley gets back.
Kelly, did you get a report back yet from the desk sergeant in the police accident bureau?
Not yet. I just called the downtown dispensary and they said they hadn't seen him.
It's beginning to smell awful funny to me. 4 hours he's been gone and not a word from him. Dr. Sanderson, I may never see you again, so I just wanted to say, I wish you a lot of luck. And I'm mighty sorry you got a kick in the ad spray.
Thanks, Wilson. Good luck to you, too.
And Kelly, let me know when you hear from the desk sergeant again. If there's no sign of the doctor, I'm going into town and looking for him. He should know better than to go after a psycho without me.
I'd like to help look for the doctor, too, Wilson.
That's swell of you, Doctor. Right after he give you the brush.
I've no resentment against Dr. Chumley. He was right. I was wrong. He's the biggest man in the field. It's my loss not to be able to work with him.
You're not so smart yourself, Doctor.
Thanks, Wilson.
Don't mention it.
Well, Dr. Sanderson.
Yes?
Well, Doctor, I'd like to say that I wish you a lot of luck as well, and I'm sorry to see you go.
Are you sure you can spare these good wishes, Miss Kelly?
On second thought, I guess I can't. Never mind.
This is for nothing. Just a little bit of advice. I'd be a little wary if I were you about who I spent my time with.
I beg your pardon?
You don't have to. I told you it was free. You know, I saw you Saturday night dancing with that drip down in the Rose Room at the Frontier Hotel.
Oh, did you? I didn't notice you.
I'd be a little careful of him, Kelly. He looked to me like a schizophrenic all the way across the floor.
You really shouldn't have minded him, Doctor. He was my date, not yours.
Oh, it's his mentality. The rest of him, well...
But she was beautiful, though.
Who?
That girl you were with.
I thought you didn't notice.
You bumped into us twice. How could I help it?
Not that it matters to you. That girl is a charming little lady. She has a sweet, kind disposition, and she knows how to conduct herself.
Funny, she couldn't rate a better date on a Saturday night.
And she has an excellent mind.
Why doesn't she use it?
Oh, I don't suppose you're about to be censored for that flippin' hard shell you have. I bet you're hiding something.
I am not. Don't use any of your psychiatry on me.
Oh, if I gotta try something else on you. Just once. Just to see if you'd melt under any circumstances. I doubt it.
You'll never see it, Doctor.
Because you interest me as a case history. That's all. I'd like to know where you get that inflated ego.
You're horrible.
Don't run away. Let's finish it.
Leave me alone.
Gladly.
Chumley's Rest. Yes, Sergeant. No sighting of him either in town or the suburbs. Look, Sergeant, maybe we better just... Oh, never mind. Here they are. Mr. Dowd.
Good evening, my dear. These are for you.
Oh, for me, thank you.
They're quite fresh, too. I just picked them outside.
Oh, you better not have let Dr. Chumley see you. Those are his prized dahlias. Speaking of Dr. Chumley, did he go upstairs?
Not knowing, I cannot state. Those colors are lovely against your hair.
Oh, thank you. I've never worn this shade of pink. It is such a trying color.
You would improve any color, my dear.
Thank you. Did Dr. Chumley go home?
I don't know. Where's Dr. Sanderson?
In his office. There, I think.
Thank you.
Dowd, there you are.
I have a cab waiting outside, if it's possible for you and Miss Kelly to get away now.
Where's Dr. Chumley?
Is he coming with us? That's nice.
I don't know, Doctor.
I must apologize for being a few seconds late. I thought Miss Kelly here should have some flowers. After what happened out here this afternoon, Doctor, those flowers should really be from you. As you grow older and pretty women pass you by, you will think with deep gratitude of these generous girls of your youth. Shall we go now?
Just a moment, Dowd. The situation has changed since you were out here this afternoon, but I urge you to have no resentments. Dr. Chumley's your friend. He only wants to help you.
That's very nice of him. I would like to help him, too.
If you'll begin by taking a cooperative attitude, that's half the battle. We all have to face reality, Dowd, sooner or later.
Doctor, I've wrestled with reality for 40 years, and I'm happy to state I finally won out over it. Won't you and Miss Kelly join me down at Charlie's?
Here you are, upstairs, buddy. We're going upstairs. Is the doctor okay?
There must be some mistake. Miss Kelly and Dr. Sanderson and I are going downtown for a drink. I would be glad to have you come with us, Mr.
Wilson.
Wilson! They have a wonderful floor show.
Yeah? We'll wait till you see the floor show we've got, buddy, upstairs.
Just a minute, Wilson. Where did you say Dr. Chumley went out?
As I said, he did not confide his plans in me.
You mean the doctor ain't showed up yet?
Not yet.
Well, where is he?
That's what we're trying to find out.
Mr. Dowd walked in here by himself.
Oh, he did, eh? Listen, you talk faster. I'm working you over.
I'd rather you didn't do that. And I'd rather you didn't even mention such a thing in the presence of a lovely young lady like Miss Kelly.
Mr. Dowd, Dr. Chumley went into town to pick you up. That was 4 hours ago.
Where has the evening gone to?
Listen to that. Smart, eh?
Just a minute, Wilson. Did you see Dr. Chumley tonight, Dowd?
Yes, I did. He came into Charlie's place at dinner time. It is a cozy spot. Let's all go down there and talk it over with the tall one.
We're going no place. Now, I'm asking you a question, and if you don't button up your lip and give me some answers, I'm gonna beat it out of you.
What you suggest is impossible.
What's that?
You suggest that I button up my lip and give you some straight answers? It can't be done.
Let me handle this, Wilson.
We'll handle it then, but find out where the doctor is.
Dr. Chumley did come into Charlie's place, you say?
Yes, he did, and I was very glad to see him.
Go on.
He had asked for me, and naturally, the proprietor brought him over and left him. We exchanged the conventional greetings. I said, "How do you do, Dr. Chumley?" And he said, "How do you do, Mr. Dowd?" I believe we said that at least once.
Okay.
I'm trying to be factual. I then introduced him to Harvey.
To who?
A big white rabbit, 6 feet tall.
6 feet?
6'1.5".
Okay. Fool around with him, and the doctor's probably someplace bleeding to death in a ditch.
If those were his plans for the evening, he did not tell me.
Go on, Dowd.
Dr. Chumley sat down in the booth with us. I was seated on the outside, like this. Harvey was seated on the inside, against the wall, and Dr. Chumley was seated directly across from Harvey, where he could look at him.
That's right. Spend all night on the seating arrangements.
No, Harvey then suggested that I buy him a drink. Knowing that he does not like to drink alone, I suggested to Dr. Chumley that we join him.
And so?
We joined him.
Go on.
We joined him again.
And then what?
We kept right on joining him.
Skip all the joining.
You are asking me to skip a large portion of the evening.
Tell us what happened. Come on, please.
Dr. Chumley and Harvey got into a conversation. quietly at first. Later, it became rather heated, and Dr. Chumley raised his voice.
Yeah? Why?
Well, Harvey seemed to feel that Dr. Chumley should assume part of the financial responsibility of the joining, but Dr. Chumley didn't seem to feel that way.
Oh, I can definitely believe that part of it.
Let him talk. See how far he'll go. This guy's got guts.
I then agreed to take the whole thing because I didn't want any trouble. We go there quite often, Harvey and I, and the proprietor is a fine man with an interesting approach to life. Then the other matter came up.
Cut the damn double talk and get on with it!
Mr. Wilson, you are a sincere type of person, but I must ask you not to use that language in the presence of Miss Kelly.
You know what? You're right, Dowd, and we're sorry. You say the other matter came up?
There was a beautiful blonde woman, Mrs. Smethills, and her escort seated in the booth across from us. Dr. Chumley sat down next to her, explaining to her that they had once met in Chicago. Her escort escorted Dr. Chumley back to Harvey and me and tried to point out that it would be better for him to mind his own affairs. Does he have any?
Does he have any what?
Does he have any affairs?
Well, how would I know?
Oh, please, Mr. Dowd, please hurry up. We're all so worried.
Dr. Chumley then urged Harvey to go with him to Blondie's Chicken Inn. Harvey wanted to go to Eddie's instead. While they were arguing about it, I went to the bar to order another drink, and when I came back, they were gone.
Well, where'd they go? I mean, where'd the doctor go?
I don't know. I had a date out here with Miss Kelly and Dr. Sanderson, and I came out here to pick them up, hoping that later we might run into Harvey and the doctor and make a party of it.
So, you satisfied? You got his story. Okay, you're lying and we know it.
I never lie, Mr. Wilson.
You've done something with the doctor, and I'm finding out what it is.
Don't touch him, Wilson.
Maybe he isn't lying, Wilson.
That's all this guy is, a bunch of lies. I mean, you two don't believe the story he tells about the doctor sitting there, talking to a big white rabbit, do you?
I mean, well, maybe Dr. Chumley did go to Charlie's place.
And saw a big rabbit, I suppose.
And why not? Harvey was there. At first, the doctor seemed a little frightened of Harvey, but that gave way to admiration as the evening wore on. The evening wore on. That's a nice expression. With your permission, I'd like to say it again. The evening wore on.
With your permission, I'm gonna knock your teeth down your throat.
Mr. Wilson, haven't you some old friends you can go play with?
The nerve of this guy. He couldn't come out here with an ordinary case of the DTs, no. He has to come out here with a 6-foot rabbit.
Stimulating, as all this is. I really must be getting downtown.
Charlie's place? Hi, is Dr. Chumley anywhere down there? He was there with Mr. Dowd earlier. What? Oh, well, don't bite my head off about it. Ooh, my, that man was mad. He said Mr. Dowd was invited back at any time, but his friends were not.
Oh, that's Mr. McNulty, the bartender. He thinks a lot of me. Now, let's all go down there and have a drink.
Wait a minute.
Mr. Dowd.
Yes, my dear. May I hold your hand?
Yes, if you wish. Mr. Dowd, poor Mrs. Chumley is so worried. Can't you tell us anything? Anything that might help her, like, settle her heart?
For you, I would do anything. I'd almost be willing to live my whole life over again. Almost. But I'm afraid I've told it all.
Are you sure?
Quite sure. But ask me again anyway, won't you? I liked that warm tone you had in your voice just then.
So did I.
Oh, nuts!
What?
Nuts!
Oh, I must be going. I have things to do.
Mr. Dowd, what is it that you do exactly?
Harvey and I sit in bars and have a drink or two and play the jukebox. Soon, The faces of the other people turn towards mine and smile. They're saying, "We don't know your name, mister, but you're a lovely fella." Harvey and I warm ourselves in all these golden moments. We've entered as strangers, and soon we have friends. They come over to us, they sit with us, they drink with us, they talk to us. They tell about the big, terrible things they've done, the big, wonderful things they will do, their hopes, their regrets, their loves, their hates, all very large because nobody ever brings anything small into a bar. And then I introduce them to Harvey, and he is bigger and grander than anything they offer me. When they leave impressed. These same people seldom come back, but that's envy, my dear. There's a little bit of it in the best of us. Too bad, isn't it?
How did you happen to call him Harvey?
Harvey is his name.
How do you know that?
That was rather an interesting coincidence, Doctor. One night, several years ago, I was walking early in the evening along Fairfax Street, between 18th and 19th. You know that block?
Yes, yes.
I had just put Ed Hickey into a taxi. Ed had been mixing his rye with his gin, and I felt he needed a little conveying. I started to walk down the street when I heard a voice saying, "Good evening, Mr. Dowd." I turned, and there was this great white rabbit leaning against a lamppost. Well, I thought nothing of that, because when you've lived in a town as long as I've lived in this one, you get used to the fact that everyone knows your name. Naturally, I went over to chat with him. He said, "Ed Hickey was a little spiffed this evening, or could I be mistaken?" Well, of course, he was not mistaken. I think the world and all of Ed, but he was spiffed. Well, anyway, we talked for a while, and finally I said, "You have the advantage of me. You know my name, and I don't know yours." Right back at me, he said, "What name do you like?" Well, I didn't even have to think a minute. Harvey has always been my favorite name. So I said, "Harvey." And this is the interesting part of the whole thing. He said, "What a coincidence. Harvey happens to be my name."
What was your father's name, Dowd?
John Frederick.
Dowd, when you were a child, you had a playmate, didn't you? Someone with whom you could spend many long, carefree hours?
Oh, yes, Doctor. Didn't you?
What was his name?
Vern McElhenney. Did you ever know the McElhenneys, Doctor?
No.
That's a shame. There were a lot of them, and they circulated. Wonderful people.
I'm going to need you to think very carefully, Dowd. Wasn't there ever someone, somewhere, sometime, whom you knew by the name of Harvey? Wasn't there ever?
No, Doctor, not at all. Maybe that's why I always had such hopes for it.
Okay. We'll take Mr. Dowd upstairs now, Wilson.
I'm taking him nowhere. You've made this your show, you run it. Letting him sit here, forgetting all about Dr. Chumley. You've made this your show, you run it.
Come on, Dowd. Come on, Elwood.
Very well, Lyman. But I'm afraid I can't visit with you for long. I have promised Harvey I'll take him to see the floor show.
Oh, boy. Dr. Chumley, are you all right?
All right? Of course I'm all right. I'm being followed. Lock that door.
Well, who's following you?
None of your business. Wilson! Wilson! Wilson!
How'd you get out here, Doctor? I just saw you go in there.
I went out through the window. Wilson, don't leave me.
No, Doctor.
Get that man Dowd out of here.
Yes, Doctor.
No, don't leave me.
But you said...
Dumpy, on the telephone.
Yes, Doctor. Dumpy, give that guy Dowd his clothes and get him down here right away.
Wilson.
Judge Gaffney?
Dr. Chumley, I need to talk to you.
No, not in there.
The doctor doesn't want you in his office.
No, sir.
Then sit down, Dr. Chumley. Sit down, Myrtle May.
Sit down, Dr. Chumley. Sit down, Little May. Wilson, don't leave me.
Now, Chumley, here are my notes. The facts. Can anybody hear me?
Yeah, we can all hear you. Is that good?
Now, Chumley, has it ever occurred to you that there might be something like this Rabbit Harvey?
Certainly not. And anyone who thinks so is crazy. Well, don't look at me like that. There's nothing funny about me. I'm like my father's family. They're all dead.
Now then, my client, the plaintiff, Mrs. Vita Louise Simmons, under oath swears that on the morning of November 2nd, standing in the kitchen of her home, hearing her name called, she turned and saw this great white rabbit Harvey. He was staring at her. Resenting the intrusion, the plaintiff made certain remarks and drove the creature from the room. He went.
What did she say to him?
She was emphatic. The remarks are not important.
I want to know how she got that creature out of her sanitarium. I mean her home.
I hate to have you tell him, Judge. It isn't a bit like Mother.
Oh, quit stalling. Let's have it.
She looked him right in the eye and exclaimed in the heat of anger, "To hell with you!"
To hell with you? He left?
Yes, he left, but that's not the point. The point is it perjury or is it something we can cope with? I ask for your opinion.
Ruthie, I've been looking all over for you.
Dr. Sanderson, disregard what I said this afternoon. I want you on my staff. You are a very astute young man.
Oh, Lyman, did you hear?
Oh, baby!
Oh, I'll see you later.
You've just got to keep Uncle Elwood out here, Doctor.
No, I want the sanitarium the way it was before he came here this afternoon.
I know what you mean.
You do?
Well, it certainly gets on anyone's nerves the way Uncle Elwood knows what's going to happen before it happens. This morning, for instance, he told us that Harvey told him that Mrs. McElhenney's Aunt Rose was going to drop in on him unexpectedly tonight from Cleveland.
And did she?
Did she what?
Aunt Rose, did she drop in just as Harvey said she would?
Oh, yes. Those things always turn out the way Uncle Elwood says they will. But what of it? What do we care about the McElhennys?
And you say this sort of thing happens often?
Yes, and isn't it strange? Uncle Elwood says Harvey tells him everything. Harvey knows everything. How could he when there's no such thing as Harvey?
Fly specks. I spent my life among fly specks when there have been miracles on the corner of 18th and Fairfax, just leaning on lampposts.
Good. Nobody here but people.
Mother, you promised you wouldn't come out here.
Well, good evening. Now, Myrtle May, I brought Elwood's bathrobe. Well, why are you all just sitting here? I thought you'd be committing him.
Sit down there, girl.
I will not sit down there.
How about you and me stepping out Saturday night, Myrtle May?
Certainly not. Myrtle May, come here.
I'm sorry.
Is everything settled?
It will be soon.
Doctor, may I give an opinion?
Yes, please do, by all means.
His opinion? Omer, he's the doctor I told you about. The eyes.
Doctor, it's my opinion that Elwood P. Dowd is suffering from a third-degree hallucination, and the other party concerned is suffering from autosuggestion. It's my opinion that Elwood P. Dowd should be treated with shock formula number 977, and I recommend bed rest at home for...
You do?
That's my diagnosis. We've used this formula in hundreds of psychopathic cases.
Don't you call my brother a psychopathic case? There's never been anything like that in our family.
If you didn't think Uncle Elwood was psychopathic, then why did you bring him out here?
I couldn't take him to jail, could I? Where else could I bring him? Besides, this is not your uncle's fault. Why did Harvey have to speak to him in the first place? With a town full of people, why did he have to bother Elwood?
Stop putting your oar in. Keep your oar out. If this shock formula brings people back to reality, give it to him. That's where we want Elwood.
Doctor, I'm not so sure this treatment would work in a case like this.
It always has.
Harvey always follows Elwood home.
He does?
Yes. But if you give him the formula and Elwood doesn't see Harvey, then he won't let him in. Then when he comes to the door, I'll deal with him.
Mother, won't you stop talking about Harvey as if there was such a thing?
Myrtle May, you've got a lot to learn, and I hope you never learn it.
Shh, here he is.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening, Elwood. I've brought your bathrobe.
Oh, thank you, Vita.
What are we gonna do, Doctor? We've got to do something.
Oh, yes, we must.
I should say so.
Yes, it's imperative.
Well, while you're making up your minds, why don't we all go down to Charlie's and have a drink?
No, Elwood, you're not going anywhere. You're staying here.
Yes, Uncle Elwood.
Stay here, son.
I plan to leave. You guys want me to stay. An element of conflict in any discussion is a good thing. It means everybody's taking part and nobody's left out. I like that. Oh, how did you get along with Harvey, Doctor?
We're waiting for your answer, Doctor.
What?
What is your decision?
I must be alone with this man. Will you all step into the other room? I will have my diagnosis in a moment.
Do hurry, Doctor.
I will.
You stay here, Elwood.
Mr. Dowd, let me give you this chair. Let me give you this cigar. Is there anything else I can get you, Mr. Dowd?
What did you have in mind?
Mr. Dowd, what kind of a man are you? Where do you come from?
Didn't I give you one of my cards?
And where on the face of this tired old earth did you find a thing like him?
Harvey the Puka?
Is it true that he has a function that he can...
Gets advance notice? I'm happy to say it is. Harvey is versatile. Harvey can stop clocks.
What?
You've heard that expression, his face would stop a clock?
Yes, but why? To what purpose?
Well, Harvey says that he can look at your clock and stop it And you can go away as long as you'd like, with whoever you'd like, and go as far as you'd like. And when you come back, not 1 minute will have ticked by.
And does he do this for you?
Well, he's willing to at any time, but so far I haven't been able to think of any place I'd rather be. I always have a wonderful time just where I am, whomever I'm with. I'm having a fine time with you right now, Doctor. Corona, Corona.
I know where I'd go.
Where?
Akron.
Akron?
There's a cottage camp outside of Akron in a grove of maple trees, cool, green, and beautiful.
My favorite tree.
I would go there with a young, beautiful woman, a quiet woman, a strange woman.
Under a tree?
I wouldn't even want to know her name. I would just be Mr. Brown.
Why wouldn't you want to know her name? You might be acquainted with the same people.
I would send out for cold beer, and I would tell her things I've never told anybody in my life, things that are locked in here. And then I would send out for more cold beer.
No whiskey?
Beer is better.
Well, maybe under a tree, but she might like a highball.
I wouldn't even let her talk to me. As I talked, I'd want her to just reach out a soft white hand and stroke my head and say, "Poor thing. Oh, you poor, poor thing."
How long would you like this to go on?
2 weeks.
Wouldn't that get monotonous? Just Akron, beer, and poor, poor thing for 2 weeks?
No, it would not. It would be wonderful.
I can't help but feel like you're making a mistake in not allowing that woman to talk. If she gets around at all, she may have picked up some very interesting little news items. And I'm sure you're making a mistake with all that beer and no whiskey, but it's your 2 weeks.
Cold beer at Akron and one last fling. God, man.
Oof. Do you think you might like to lie down for a while?
No. Mr. Dowd, would he do this for me?
He could, and he might. I've never heard Harvey say a word against Akron. By the way, Doctor, where is Harvey?
Why, don't you know?
The last time I saw him, he was with you.
Ah.
Oh, he's probably waiting for me down at Charlie's.
That's right. He's down at Charlie's.
Excuse me, Doctor.
No, Mr. Dowd, you mustn't go in there.
I couldn't leave without saying goodbye to my friend, Dr. Sanderson.
Dr. Sanderson is not your friend. None of those people are your friends. I am your friend.
Thank you, Doctor, and I'm yours.
And this sister of yours, she's behind this whole conspiracy against you. She's trying to persuade me to lock you up. Today she had commitment papers drawn up. She has your power of attorney, the key to your safety box. She brought you all the way out here today.
My sister did all that in one afternoon? Vida is certainly a whirlwind.
God, man, haven't you any righteous indignation?
Dr. Chumley, my mother used to say, in this world, Elwood, she always called me Elwood. She'd say, in this world, Elwood, you must be oh so smart, or oh so pleasant. For years I was smart. I recommend pleasant. You may quote me.
Just the same. And if you do commit your sister, I can protect you. Would you like that?
No, Doctor. Not unless Vito wanted it that way. Oh, not that you don't have a nice place out here, but I just think Vito would be happier at home with me and Harvey and Myrtle. Miss Kelly! Diviner grace has never brightened this enchanting face. Ovid's fifth elegy. My dear, you will never look lovelier.
And I'll never feel better, Mr. Dad. I just know it. Mwah.
Well.
Yes, Doctor.
I wonder if I would be able to remember any more of that poem.
Say, maybe that rabbit gag is a good one. Kelly never kissed me.
Ovid has always been my favorite poet.
Okay, pal. You're discharged. This way out.
Wilson, let go of that man.
What?
Apologize to Mr. Dowd.
Apologize to this guy? With the rabbit?
Apologize. Apologize.
I apologize. This is the door.
If I leave, I'll remember.
Just a minute. Mr. Dowd, do women often come up to you and kiss you like Miss Kelly did just now?
Every once in a while.
Yes?
I encourage it, too.
Well, to hell with decency. I've got to have that rabbit. Go ahead and knock.
Dr. Sanderson, I couldn't leave without...
Just a moment, Doc. Doctor, do you agree with my diagnosis?
Yes. Call them all in.
Thank you, Doctor. Judge Gaffney, Mrs. Simmons, will you please step in here a moment?
Is everything settled?
I find I concur with Dr. Sanderson.
Thank you, Doctor.
That's wonderful. What a relief.
Good boy.
Well, let's celebrate. I've got some new bars listed in the back of this book.
This injection carries a violent reaction. We can't give it to him without his consent. Will he give it?
Of course he will. If I ask him.
To give up this rabbit? I doubt it.
Don't ask him, just give it to him.
Ooh. Bessie's barn dance. Oh, Blondie's chicken inn. Better late than never. Oh, Benny's driving.
Elwood?
We'll go to Benny's driving. We should telephone for a table. How many people will we be, Vita?
Oh, Elwood.
Mr. Dowd, I have a Formula 977 for you, and I believe it will be good. Will you take it?
Elwood, you won't see this rabbit anymore.
But you will see your responsibilities and your duties and your
I'm
wants.
sure if you thought of it, Doctor, it must be a very fine thing. And if I happen to run into anybody who needs it, I'll be glad to recommend it. For myself, I wouldn't care for it.
You hear that, Judge? You hear that, Doctor? That's what we have to put up with.
Vita, do you want me to take this thing?
Elwood, I'm only thinking of you. You're my brother, and I've known you for years. I'd do anything for you. That Harvey wouldn't do anything for you. He's making a fool of you, Elwood. Don't be a fool.
Oh, I won't.
Why, you could amount to something. You could be sitting on the Western Front waterboard right now if you'd only go over and ask them.
All right, Vita. If that's what you want, Harvey and I'll go over and ask them tomorrow.
Tomorrow? I never want to see another tomorrow. Not if Myrtle May and I have to live in the house with that rabbit. Our friends never come to see us. We have no social life. We have no life at all. We're both miserable. I wish I were dead, but maybe you don't care.
I've always wanted Vita to have everything she wants. Vita, are you sure? I'll take it. Where do I go, Doctor?
Into Dr. Sanderson's office.
Say goodbye to the old fellow for me, won't you?
How long is this going to take, Doctor?
It should only take a few minutes. Why don't you all wait out here?
We'll wait.
Dr. Sanderson said it wouldn't take long.
Now, Mother, don't fidget.
Oh, how can I help it?
How stunning. Mother, could you see me in a house coat of this material?
Yes, dear, but let me get a good night's sleep first.
Come in. What do you want?
Hi there. I'm looking for a little short... Oh, there you are. Lady, you jumped out of the cab without paying me.
Oh, yes, I forgot. How much is it?
All the way out here from town, $2.75.
$2.75. I could have sworn I brought my coin purse. Where is it? Myrtle, do you have any money?
I spent the money Uncle Elwood gave me on my new hairdo for the party.
Judge Gaffney, do you have $2.75 I could give this man?
So sorry, nothing but a check.
We don't take checks.
I know.
Dr. Chumley, do you happen to have $2.75 I could borrow to give this cab driver?
Haven't got my wallet. No time to get in now. Have to get on with this injection. Sorry.
Well, I'll get it for you from my brother, but I can't get it right now. He's in there to get an injection. It won't be long. You'll have to wait.
Your brother's got my money, and he's in there to get some of that stuff they shoot out here?
Yes, it won't be but a few minutes.
Lady, I want my money now.
But I told you it'll only be a few minutes. I want you to drive us back to town anyways.
And I told you I want my money now, or I'm nosing my cab back to town, and you can wait for the bus at 6 in the morning.
Well, of all of the pig-headed, stubborn things.
I should say so.
What's the matter with you?
Nothing that $2.75 won't fix. You heard me. Take it or leave it.
I've never heard of anything so unreasonable in my entire life. Dr. Chumley? Will you let Elwood step out here a moment? This cab driver won't wait.
Don't be too long, Mr. Dowd.
Elwood, I seem to have come off without my coin purse. Would you give this man $2.75? But don't give him any more. He's been very rude.
How do you do? Dowd is my name, Elwood P.
Lofgren's mine, EJ.
I'm happy to know that. This is my sister, Mrs. Simmons, my charming little niece, Myrtle May Simmons, Judge Gaffney, and Dr. Chumley.
Hi.
Have you lived around here long, Mr. Lofgren?
Yeah, I've lived here my whole life.
Do you enjoy your work?
It's okay. I've been driving for Apex cabs for 15 years, and my brother Joe's been driving for Browns for nearly 12.
You drive for Apex and your brother Joe for Browns. That's interesting, isn't it, Vita? Mr. Lofgren, let me give you one of my cards.
Better get on with it, Mr. Dowd.
No, certainly. 1 minute. My sister and my charming little niece live with me here at this address. Won't you and your brother come out for dinner sometime?
Sure, be glad to.
When? When would you be glad to?
I couldn't do it any other night but Tuesday. I'm on duty all the rest of the week.
You must come out on Tuesday then. We'll expect you and be glad to see you. Won't we, Vita?
Oh, Elwood, I'm sure this man has friends of his own.
Vita, one can't have too many friends.
Elwood, don't keep Dr. Chumley waiting. That's rude.
Of course. Here you are. Keep the change. I'm glad to have met you, and I'll expect you on Tuesday with your brother. Will you excuse me now?
Sure. Nice guy.
Certainly. You could have just as well waited.
Oh no, listen, lady. I've been driving this route 15 years. I brought him out to get the stuff and drove them back after they got it. It changes them.
Well, I certainly hope so.
And you ain't kidding. On the way out here, they talk to me. Sit back and enjoy the ride. We look at the sunset, watch the birds flying by. Sometimes we watch the birds when there ain't no birds. Look at the sunset when it's raining. Point is, we have a swell time, and I always get a big tip. But afterwards, oh.
Afterwards, oh. What do you mean afterwards, oh?
They crab. They yell at me to watch the lights, watch the brake, watch the intersection. They got no faith in me or my buggy. Yet it's the same cab, same driver, and we're going down the very same road. And no tips.
Well, my brother would have tipped you anyways. He's very generous, always has been.
Not after this, he won't be. Lady, after this, he's gonna be a perfectly normal human being. And you know what bastards they are. Glad I met you. I'll wait.
Oh, Judge Gaffney! Myrtle May! Stop it! Stop the injection! Elwood, come out of there!
You can't do that. Dr. Chumley is giving an injection.
Mother, stop this!
I don't want it to happen! I don't like people like that! Elwood, come out of there!
Do something with her, Judge! Mother, stop it!
Shut up! I've lived longer than you. I remember my father. I remember your father. I remember...
What's this? What's all this commotion?
What's the trouble, Doctor? She's sounding off again?
She wants to stop the injection.
You haven't already given it to him, have you?
No, but we're ready. Mr. Wilson, get Mrs. Simmons out of here.
Leave me alone! Get your hands off me, you barbarian!
You don't know what you want. You didn't want that rabbit either.
And what's wrong with Harvey? If Elwood and Myrtle May and I want to live with Harvey, that's our business. It's nothing to you. You don't even have to come around. Elwood! Elwood!
There, Vita. Vita's all tired out. She's done a lot today.
Have it your own way. I'm not leaving my game again, no matter how big the animal is.
Come on, Elwood. Let's get out of here. I hate this place. I wish I'd never seen it.
Now, see here.
It's whatever Vita says, Doctor.
Why? Look at this. I could have paid that cab driver the whole time. It must have been there all along. Harvey. Come on, Elwood. Come on, Myrtle May. Hurry up.
Good night, Dr. Chumley. Good night, Mr. Wilson.
Come along, Elwood.
Doctor, for years, I've known what my family thinks of Harvey, but I've often wondered what Harvey's family thinks of me. Oh, there you are. Doctor, do you mind? You're standing in his way. Now, where have you been? We've been looking all over for you. You know, the portrait came. He got your ears perfect.
Oh, boy, I'm lucky. I'll say I'm lucky. This is my lucky day. I'm all in clover. I'm glad all over. I want to shout hooray. I found a horse you couldn't go wrong. And then of course you happened along. Oh boy, I'm lucky. I'll say I'm lucky. This is my lucky day. This is my lucky day. I'm all in clover.